Good afternoon. I'm Dan Gilson, the owner of the Charcoal Supply Company and the pit master of Three Dogs Barbecue Competition Cooking Team. This afternoon we're going to talk about pork shoulder, or better yet, Boston butt. Here we have a Boston butt that's already been rubbed down with our rub, which is made of turbinado sugar, kosher salt, black pepper, garlic, and paprika, and a little bit of cumin. So once we get this thing rubbed down, we're going to put it into our smoker. We're going to cook it at 235 degrees for about 8 to 12 hours. After that time has gone by, we're going to end up with a pork shoulder that's, well, pull apart. Here we have one that's already been cooked. We're going to take a glove. We want to make sure that we don't get anything on this pork shoulder that we don't want to eat. We're going to give it a quick pull. Look how moist and tender it is. Put it on a plate. Give it a little bit of your favorite sauce. Go ahead and sauce it up, make it into a sandwich, or eat it just on a plate like that. For recipes, go to webcenter11.com. I'm Dan Gilson, and this has been the Backyard Barbecue Series.
And we'll laugh and be happy at the Backyard Barbecue.
Brought to you by the Charcoal Supply Company.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Gilson, pitmaster of Three Dogs Barbecue Competition Barbecue Cooking Team and the owner of the Charcoal Supply Company. This afternoon we're going to talk about spare ribs. Here I have a set of spare ribs that have already been prepared. They've been cut down to a St. Louis style and they've had the membrane pulled off the back. We're going to make a real quick rub here. We've got a cup of kosher salt, a cup of washed raw sugar, quarter cup of paprika, 1 tablespoon of cumin, 2 tablespoons each of black pepper, and granulated garlic. Give it a quick mix with your fingers. They work real well. And we're just going to spread that rub onto that rack of ribs. Flip them over. Same thing on the back side. Once we have them rubbed down real well, we're going to go ahead and place them into our cooker. Set your cooker up for offset or indirect cooking, and they'll be ready when you pick them up with a set of tongs, and they bend, but don't break. Lovely. Sauce them up, cut them into individual ribs, and you'll be ready to serve. That's been the KTVF Backyard Barbecue Series.
And we'll laugh and be happy at the Backyard Barbecue.
Brought to you by the Charcoal Supply Company.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Gilson, the owner of the Charcoal Supply Company, and this is the Backyard Barbecue Series. Today we're going to talk a little bit about barbecue equipment. There's lots of different things out there, and I've got a few of them here that I'm going to talk about and show you today. First off, we have a vertical water smoker. These things have a fire that's down in the bottom. In the middle, you got a water pan to help kind of divert that heat and give it a little bit of a diversion away from the meat. And then you have your meats in the top. Big pieces of meat like pork shoulder and brisket can go into these things. You can also do things like ribs and chicken in them. I've got a smaller version here and a larger version here. They're very simple to operate, and they're great for doing those low and slow things. They'll run for a long period of time with very little effort, and they work great for cooking barbecue. Now, if you're moving on to a big event, you can get a big guy like this, something that you can tow along behind you. You can take it to a big event. It has the capability of doing lots of meat. You can cook a lot of stuff on it all at one time. Typically, they burn wood. Then you're going to move into the smaller things, such as what you might find at your home. These kettle-style grills are great for cooking hamburgers and pork chops and steaks and hot dogs. But you can also cook some great barbecue with them as well. All you have to do is use an aluminum pan, separate your charcoal, give you that indirect cooking. They're great for cooking low and slow barbecue. This has been the Backyard Barbecue Series, and I'm Dan Gilson.
And we'll laugh and be happy at the Backyard Barbecue.
Brought to you by the Charcoal Supply Company and the Alaskan Barbecue Association.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Gilson, the owner of the Charcoal Supply Company. I know you guys have been watching these segments and you're thinking, geez, he's talked about charcoal, he's talked about wood, he's talked about this big cooker that he's got behind him. But I've got a gas grill in my backyard, or I've got an electric smoker or a propane smoker. Well, I'm gonna help you out today, guys. We have a couple of different options for you. We've got these really nice wood chips. These right here happen to be a really nice alder wood chip. If you want to use them, they're small and they're dry, so they'll burn up rather quickly. A way to keep them from burning up on you, soak them in water. I got a couple of handfuls of chips in here. They've been soaking for a while. You can sprinkle these right onto a charcoal fire to give your steaks and your hamburgers a really nice smoky flavor. Or if you've got a gas grill and you're wondering, hey, how can I make this stuff work in my gas grill? Just take a couple of handfuls of these, put it in some aluminum foil, make yourself a real nice little pouch, seal it up. Once it's sealed up a little bit, you gotta let that smoke get out of there. So just take your big fork like this one, poke some holes in it, put it down on the burner of your gas grill and let it smoke. Great part is, when you're done, you toss the whole thing in the trash. We have another option as well. If you're not really into the different types of chips there are out there, we've got pellets. Pellets are great. You can sprinkle them onto a charcoal fire. You can put them in a pouch just like this. Either way, they make a nice smoky flavor. And this has been the Backyard Barbecue Series.
And we'll laugh and be happy at the Backyard Barbecue.
Brought to you by the Charcoal Supply Company and the Alaskan Barbecue Association.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Gilson, the owner of the Charcoal Supply Company, and this is the Backyard Barbecue Series. Okay, up to this point, we've talked about cookers. We've also talked about different kinds of charcoal. But here's where we're going to talk about those things where you can give your own signature to your barbecue. We're going to talk about the smoke, or more importantly, the types of woods that you have available for smoking. We've got fruit woods. They include things such as cherry, peach, apple, apricot, and plum. This right here happens to be apricot. This is really nice for those light flavored things such as fish or poultry. Moving on, we have some really nice almond wood here. This is part of our hardwoods, if you will. We have red oak, mesquite, hickory, pecan, and of course this almond. They're very good for things such as beef and game. They stand up to those really nice hearty flavors of those kind of meats. You can use these in combination with the fruit woods or with some other wood when you're cooking things such as pork. Makes really nice combinations to give you a really nice flavor. I know some of you don't want to spend the money for some of these exotic woods, so we have a local option. You've got some really nice alder wood here. We all know alder from smoking fish, but it can also be used very well for cooking things such as poultry and beef even. I've used it to make some wonderful briskets. These woods can be used by themselves or they can be used in combination. Figure out what works great for you. This has been the Backyard Barbecue Series.
And we'll laugh and be happy at the Backyard Barbecue.
Brought to you by the Charcoal Supply Company and the Alaskan Barbecue Association.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Gilson with the Charcoal Supply Company, and this is the Backyard Barbecue Series. This afternoon we're going to talk about something pretty simple, something that people like to do a lot here in Alaska. We're going to talk about cooking on a plank. At least we're going to talk about cooking salmon on a plank. Here we have a really nice silver salmon or coho fillet. I've got a plank that's been soaking for a while here. Pretty simple. Just take that fillet, lay it right onto your plank. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a rub or some sort of seasoning and we're going to sprinkle it right on that fillet. Now this here seasoning is a barbecue seasoning, which a lot of people might look at and say, wow, on a fillet or on a salmon fillet, but it actually works out rather nicely. Put it on there, season it to taste, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set it on our kettle grill. Lots of folks have kettle grills. We actually have this one set up with a 2-zone fire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set that fillet directly over the fire to begin with. And we're going to let it sit there. The bottom of that plank, although it's been soaking, is going to go ahead and heat up. It's going to smoke a little bit. And then what's gonna happen is gonna infuse some of that cedar flavor straight into the fish. On this one here, we have one that's complete. Now go ahead and pull that out, take a look at it. One of the ways that we can tell that a salmon fillet is finished cooking, take a small knife, give it a little poke. When you pull it out, you touch it to your lip and it's warm, it's done. So at this time right now, we have this beautifully prepared planked silver salmon. This has been the Backyard Barbecue Series, and I'm Dan Gilson with Charcoal Supply Company.
And we'll laugh and be happy at the Backyard Barbecue.
Brought to you by the Charcoal Supply Company and the Alaskan Barbecue Association.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Gilson, the owner of the Charcoal Supply Company and the pitmaster of Three Dogs Barbecue Competition Barbecue Cooking Team. This afternoon we're going to talk about something that's really fun to make, really easy to do, something you don't have to spend a whole lot of time with, and that's smoking hamburgers. I know a lot of people haven't talked about smoking hamburgers. We've done a whole lot of it, but it's really kind of a neat thing to do. Changes things up a little bit. First thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our kettle grill so that we can smoke on it. We've already got a 2-zone fire set up in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some chips so that we can get a nice smokiness. I've got some hickory chips here that we've been soaking for a while now, and we're going to get that going. Here we have some hamburgers that are already prepped. What we're going to do is go ahead and put some barbecue spice on them. I like to use barbecue spice just because it goes very well with the smokiness of the hickory chips, but you could use any kind of spice that you want. Salt and pepper makes a really great spice for hamburgers. Get those things spiced up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and set them on this grill, and we're going to set them away from the fire. We're going to set them on that cool zone, because what we want to have happen is as those smoking chips start producing that smoke, we want it to go ahead and cook those things up really nicely. Over here on my favorite redhead, besides my sister, I've got these gorgeous smoked hamburgers that are already done. We're going to go ahead and pull those out, and for me, I like to put them on a nice bun. This one here is a nice Kaiser roll. I like to use mayonnaise as my only condiment. Get a little bit right on there. Go ahead and get that burger on the bun. And we're ready to eat. This has been the Backyard Barbecue Series. I'm Dan Gilson, and these are smoked hamburgers.
And we'll laugh and be happy at the Backyard Barbecue.
Brought to you by the Charcoal Supply Company and the Alaskan Barbecue Association.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Gilson, the owner of the Charcoal Supply Company, and this is the Backyard Barbecue Series. This afternoon we're going to talk about charcoal. I know a lot of people think charcoal is charcoal. You got the stuff that you buy in the store, you've known it your whole life, it works great. Well, I'm here to tell you there's a better charcoal out there on the market. We've got some all-natural charcoals here. We've got an all-natural briquette. This briquette looks just like the stuff that you find in the store. The main difference is there's no additives in it. There's no clay, limestone, coal dust, wood chips. All these things make that charcoal burn with a funny smell and adds kind of a funny flavor to your foods if you don't wait long enough before you start cooking with it. I've got this all-natural charcoal, and we also have an all-natural blended lump charcoal. This charcoal here, this lump charcoal, is nothing more than wood that's been charred. It's been put into a big oven called a retort. They heat it up to a point where it drives off all the volatile chemicals and all the moistures. and leaves behind nothing but the char or the carbon. Now, if you're going to use a great all-natural product such as these, you don't want to squirt lighter fluid all over it. Use a really nice charcoal chimney like this, put a wad of newspaper underneath it, light that up with the charcoal on the top. It'll light rather quickly, it'll burn cleanly, and this has been the Backyard Barbecue Series.
And we'll laugh and be happy at the Backyard Barbecue.
Brought to you by the Charcoal Supply Company and the Alaskan Barbecue Association.